But you know what? Mr. Chow smells like calla lilies, and I do appreciate that too. So let's talk pizza. So this is a little different. I didn't permanently live on the farm, right? I just spent summer on the farms, right? So I grew up in another city, and pizza night happened on Friday nights. My mom would go to the grocery store. She would make her own crust and make just an exuberant amount of pies, and it was always us and another family that we would just kind of have pizza dinner nights on Fridays, and we just looked forward to it. It was the smell of the pork. It actually smelled good. I wouldn't dare eat it now, but it was the smell of the pork, the sauce, the tomato, the pepperoni, just those things that kids want that was so exciting. When I had to spend my summer months on the farm, my grandmother and aunts really weren't into making pizzas for us, but pizza night did happen. I had two aunts that also lived on the farm, and one of them in particular would always promise me and my siblings or cousins that she was going to take us to Pizza Hut. And we would get so excited about it. We would look forward to it, marking the days that we had left in order to go to Pizza Hut. You know, this is pizza night there. And so what was so exciting about it is because the farm is in a small town. There's nothing going on outside of agriculture that much. So people aren't like turning over tables and desks to get to live or visit this area as much as they are to maybe go through there to get to the beach. But there wasn't an abundance of restaurants that were like your favorites at home. There were only two that I could think of that we were excited about going to, as with any kid: McDonald's. And then number two, they had a Pizza Hut. And so that's all we needed was this Pizza Hut. Like, let's do it. So she's promising us we're gonna go have pizza, and we get the cousins involved, get their anticipation high, and only for her to just renege just about every time. And I get it now, because now I'm an adult, I have nephews, and I'm just like, you have those good intentions of like, we're gonna go have pizza, I'm gonna take them to have a good time. But then when it comes down to it, you just don't feel like it. And that's heartbreaking to a child. Like, what do you mean? You have a car. Well, I'm ready. You have a clothes. Let's go. And it's not just that simple. But there were times that we did go, and it was a vibe. Pizza Hut was a big part of my childhood growing up, and this is not even sponsored by them at all, but it's just my truth. I remember they had a program at my elementary school called Book It. So if you would read a certain amount of books for the month, you would earn a certificate and earn a gift certificate, or win a gift certificate for a personal pan pie. And it was always great. I used to want to read all the books in order to be a part of Book It. And so them having a Pizza Hut was a little bit of home away from home for me. And I loved everything about it. I love when you can go into a restaurant and you can smell the theme of the restaurant. You know, if it's the seafood, you smell it. It smells like the coast. If it's a pizza restaurant, it smells like the tomato sauce and oregano just marrying and bouncing together well. I cannot stand when I don't get that. If I go into your restaurant and I'm not getting a smell, like it smells like Clorox, I appreciate your cleanliness, but I don't want to eat there at all. But you know what? Mr. Chow smells like calla lilies, and I do appreciate that too. I love me some Mr. Chow. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to pizza. So here we are at Pizza Hut, and remember they had the little Tiffany style lamps with like the stained glass look to it, and it was dim in there. They had a what do you call those? A jukebox that you could put music in. And girl, my family was so saved, they didn't want to hear the music, but somebody put a quarter in, and I was able to just kind of vibe underneath my skin. Like, I know that's home. But anyway, it was just always a great thing. The taste, this is back in the day when Pizza Hut employees made the dough right in the house, and it was just with a lot of love, and it tastes different now, but I miss that retro aspect of what it was. I wish they would get back to that. So since they haven't, I'm making my own, which is a sourdough margarita style pizza and sourdough herbal oil pizza, veggie pizza. So I made these. I made the sourdough pizza crust first. And I'm not even going to play this game with you or make you believe that it's some easy feat. And if I can do it, you can do it, because I ain't done it great yet. It is terrible. It is hard. It is requires 24 hours. So I would have said all day, but you would think, oh, you know, 8 hours. 24 hours. It takes, so it's alarm clocks involved. It's so tedious, but although it's not where I wanted it to be, it was there. It was there, and we're gonna keep doing till we get there. But I wanted to share this with you guys for this series, and I didn't want to just go back, revert to just some simple crust recipe with a packet of yeast. I wanted the sourdough, because that's the thing you can't find. Well, I can in my town where I am, sourdough pizza options. So here we go. Let's make it. So I made the sourdough crust and I froze it about 2 weeks in advance. I would caution against doing that. I won't do that again ever, because it kind of was a little too wet. I left it in the refrigerator too long. And so we got the sourdough crust thawed out, room temperature, because you cannot play with any type of crust. You cannot shape it if it's not at room temperature. It just won't work for you. So I started with my tomato sauce. The red tomato sauce is so important on a pizza. I'm not a huge red tomato fan, especially if you put a lot up there, but I know how, since it's mine, I know how to make it do just enough. Oh man, it was so good. So I started with organic tomatoes, whole tomatoes that were peeled in a can. The seeds were present, but that's fine. We can work with that too. I put that in a bowl along with roasted garlic, some salt and pepper, and oregano leaves. That's it. I began mashing it up just to break up those tomatoes, and I'm sure you could get crushed, but who am I to not want to do it the hard way? Yes, I began breaking it up, and then I put it into a saucer and just let it reduce down. It looks like a little, like too much liquid, but it's fine. Just let it reduce down on a simmering heat, and it becomes this thicker consistency that is ideal for pizza sauce. So I set that to the side. Then it was time to play with this crust. I floured my board with 00 flour, because 00 flour is the actual flour I use for the sourdough crust. And I floured the board, put the dough on there, and just began to play with it. So I put seam side up. And the seam is what you create when you're stretching and folding and allowing it to rest, and you create a seam, and that side is up. And so you're trying to like pull away from the seam to create a crust and to level out the center of the pie. And of course we got to play with our little knuckles. It was slipping and sliding, but we got it, got a groove or whatever. And it was ready for the pan that I was going to cook it in. So the pan was a skillet pan, a Le Creuset skillet pan, and a cast iron, both cast iron. And I greased it well, put the crust on top, put the crust into it, and the oven, because I don't have a pizza oven, I just did the highest setting that I could do, which was 550. So I put the pizza crust into the pan, and then I lace it with the tomato sauce and lace it with the herbal olive oil that I created, that I made like last week or so. Created that. Then I put my toppings, which is, for me, it's just basic, like some mozzarella cheese. On the herbal pizza, I wanted some red onions and green pepper, and the green pepper came from the farm too, like the garden outside actually, and some mozzarella. And before I put it into the oven, I saw this tip or trick where you can actually put it on the stove top to let the crust kind of cook first and then put it into the oven, because it doesn't take pizza long at all. Imagine having a pizza oven. It probably takes within a couple of minutes or a minute or so. But I did that. I did that for about 5 minutes, let that bottom just cook on top of the stove, and then inserted it into the oven for about another 5 minutes. And yeah, they both fragranced up the kitchen the way that Pizza Hut used to do. It was just so fragrant and so beautiful, and I was ecstatic, like, oh my gosh, this pizza is gonna be so good. And then I topped it with some basil leaves, the margarita pizza, and oregano leaves for the herbal pizza, and it was ready to indulge. It had a chewy bite. It was so beautifully prepared, and it tastes amazing. I really loved it, and it took me to the moments of connecting with just that Friday night pizza night and how special that it was, even though the process of making that crust I'm not a fan of. However, I'm waiting for the time where it is flawless, and so here we are. Sourdough pizza.